Then the next book that I read is, I think, my favorite book of the year so far. I can't stop thinking about it. I had the biggest book hangover after finishing it, and I'm still kind of in the book hangover. I think it's one of the best books I've ever read in my whole life, and I've read so many books. Hello everyone, I am finally back with another video. I have been gone for about a week just because I have had so much going on in my life. I had an Etsy restock, so I was shipping out all of your orders, and my sister is getting married in July, and this past weekend we had her bachelorette weekend, and it was a wonderful time. It was just like one big sleepover and then bridal shower this weekend, and then her wedding is in July, so we have so much going on, so much planning, so much stuff to do, so I haven't had a ton of time to film, and I've been trying to prioritize my work as best as I can. So anyway, I also have a new microphone, so I'm filming on my camera again. Fingers crossed that it sounds nice. Yes, so things are getting back in order, and I'm going to be uploading more regularly again. Just, it's been a crazy time. So anyway, today I have my reading wrap up for May, because it's June now, and I read 11 incredible books in May, and I read one of my favorite books of the year in May. I think it is my favorite book of the year so far, and I can't wait to tell you guys about it. If you follow me on Instagram, you probably have seen me talk about these books already, but I am so excited to go into a bit more detail in this video. So anyway, let's start talking about these 11 incredible books, because May was probably my best reading month of the year so far, and I'm just so excited to talk about these. Before I begin, I just want to tell you that today I uploaded on my Etsy shop my Harry Styles portrait. So in my last video, I told you guys that I had my Etsy restock, and I showed you the new authors that I have up there. I have a few left, but most of them sold out, which is always mind-blowing for me, and I am so appreciative and thankful, so your support means the world to me. I was waiting for Harry Styles to come in the mail because I ordered this print after the other ones, and he is now here and available on my Etsy shop. But anyway, just wanted to let you guys know in video form, in case you are also a Harry Styles fan, mega fan, and you want a portrait yourself. I talk a bit more about this portrait and the inspiration behind it and how I created it in my last Etsy video, so if you want to hear a bit more about this print, then I'll link that in the cards and in the description. Anyway, this is from an original graphite drawing that I did, and then so many of you liked it that I decided to color it and turn it into a portrait that you guys can get from my Etsy shop. So I just wanted to let you guys know about this. Oh, also, I did get it on the really thick paper, and it's so nice. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see, but it has like a blue seam on the edge. I'll put a picture up anyway. So very happy about this, and just thought I would let you know about that. But anyway, let's start talking about some books. So the first book was for a readathon, a 24-hour readathon that I did with my best friend Emma from her YouTube channel Emmy. She and I picked each other's TBRs. If you guys haven't seen that video, I will also link that as well. That was so much fun. It was our first 24-hour readathon that we did together, and it was Emma's first 24-hour readathon ever, and it was a blast. I can't wait to do another one, and yes, we are just huge nerds that want to read for 24 hours straight with each other. So anyway, she picked, one of the books that she picked for me is The Wind in the Willows by Kenneth Grahame. I loved this book so much. I have been wanting to read this book for ages, especially ever since getting my dog Willow, because everybody says you have to read The Wind in the Willows if you named your dog Willow, and willow trees are my favorite tree, so that's why I named her Willow. But anyway, she's actually asleep on my bed right now. And anyway, so I loved this. This is following anthropomorphic animal characters, which if you guys know me at all, you know I love anthropomorphic animal characters. Willow stretching. I will take a picture first so you guys can see how cute she looks on my bed. She still has her harness on because she was outside. But anyway, The Wind in the Willows. What I loved was that it was so wild. It was so wild and crazy and chaotic and hectic, and my favorite character was Toad, who is on the cover of this edition. This is the Penguin Deluxe edition, and this is the Penguin Threads. I loved this. It was way more wild and crazy than I expected. Toad was just, he was just off the walls, but I loved it. And what I loved especially about the writing was that It reminded me a lot of Dickens, when Dickens takes everyday objects and things and people and makes them extraordinary, and he makes them imaginative and fantastical and come to life. And there's this beautiful scene where he's describing Badger's house, I think, and he's explaining how the bowls and the plates and the cups are all smiling at each other, and it's just a wonderful way to bring a room to life. And I have such a huge amount of tabs in here because I loved so many parts of the book. Let's see if I can share one of my favorites. They're talking about humans, and obviously this is the wild, so we're following animals, but they're anthropomorphic animals, so they have human qualities, but they are talking about humans. And it says, "But what has become of them all?" Speaking of humans, asked the mole. "Who can tell?" said the badger. "People come, they stay for a while, they flourish, they build, and they go. It is their way, but we remain. There were badgers here, I've been told, long before the same city ever came to be, and now there are badgers here again. We are an enduring lot, and we may move out for a time, but we wait and are patient, and back we come, and so it will ever be." I love that. I love how we look at nature, and nature has always been, and obviously humans come and build and then go, and I just think that was such a beautiful way to describe the interaction between humanity and nature. So loved this book so much, and very, very happy to have read it now. And thank you, Emma, for picking this book for me. And then the next book that she picked for me was The Broken Wings by Khalil Gibran. I was heartbroken by this book. It is very short and very heartbreaking, and it was just amazing. The writing is so poetic and so lyrical and so beautiful, and if you love really heartfelt, romantic, heartbreaking, flowery, lyrical writing, this is the book for you. I will give you an example. Let's see. Okay, there is this incredible line from sort of the end of the book, but it really doesn't give anything away, and it just shows how proto-feminist Khalil Gibran was just by what he says and the way that he expresses the emotions in this story and the female character. So it says, "The poets and writers are trying to understand the reality of woman, but up to this day they have not understood the hidden secret of her heart, because they look upon her from behind the sexual veil and see nothing but externals. They look upon her through the magnifying glass of hatefulness and find nothing except weakness and submission." It keeps going, but like, that is just incredible. And being such a lover of classics, reading so many classics, it's so hard as a modern woman to read those classics and to sort of just accept history and the way that history treated women. But reading that and reading this story was just so refreshing, and I loved it. So highly, highly recommend you pick up The Broken Wings if you haven't. It is just stunning. The next book that Emma picked for me was the very sweet and adorable Moominland Midwinter by Tove. I believe you pronounce it Johnson? I might be pronouncing that wrong, I am so sorry. But this is a Finnish classic set obviously in midwinter, following the fictional characters of the Moomins. And this was my first Moomin story. Emma highly recommended it and thought that I would love it, and I did, and I do, and I can't wait to read more of them. We have the whole series right here. They all look so cute, and Moominland Midwinter is the 5th one, but I don't think you have to read them in any particular order. We are following Moomin Troll, and it's him experiencing winter without his family because they're asleep, but he is awake, and it's just the adventures that he goes on, and it's so sweet. And I loved the illustrations. They are beautiful and charming and just so, so lovely. I mean, how adorable is that? They're just all incredibly beautiful. Oh, look at this one. I love the line work and the texture, and just the characters themselves are adorable and creative and beautiful. We also have at the beginning of the book a little list of characters and the sketches of those characters. Moomin Gallery. So sweet. This was an adorable book, and I'm very happy to have read it. So again, thank you, Emma. And then I had a few minutes left in the 24-hour readathon, so I squeaked in a really tiny book, and that is The Tale of Mrs. Tittlemouse by Beatrix Potter. If you guys don't know, I am a huge fan of Beatrix Potter. I have been ever since I was a very, very little kid. She is one of the first authors and illustrators that I encountered, and of course has affected my own writing and illustrating, and this follows Mrs. Tittlemouse, and it is such a short story, so I don't want to say too much, but if you haven't picked up Beatrix Potter because you are an adult, Beatrix Potter is wonderful for adults, especially for people either with children in their lives, or if you've read Beatrix Potter as a child and you want to return to her. She is just such a wonderful storyteller. She captures such beauty and loveliness and nature and warmth into her stories, and the illustrations are just the most beautiful things. I mean, how lovely is that? Just so, so beautiful. All of them are gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. So, yes. I love Beatrix Potter. I don't know what else to say. She's just amazing. So that is Mrs. Tittlemouse. And then the next book that I read, so I read also in May I reread the entire Heartstopper series because I went on kind of a binge of the Heartstopper TV show that's new to Netflix, and then I wanted to reread the graphic novels, and it kind of snowballed into this big re-obsession of Heartstopper. And I have loved it since 2020, I think was when I first read the graphic novel, and then obviously with the show coming out I wanted to reread it, and I was back in the Alice Oseman universe and I loved it so much, I was having so much fun, that I wanted to finally read another one of her novels. I read Solitaire as my first novel of hers, and then I'm trying to go in order, so then her second novel after that is Radio Silence, and I read Radio Silence. Also, thanks to my friend Sarah from her YouTube channel, Sarah's Perusals, for also encouraging this read, and I adored this book. It was just amazing. There is something about Alice Oseman's YA writing that is unlike any other YA literature that I have ever encountered, and I am not a huge young adult reader. It's just not for me, but something about Alice Oseman's writing, something about her characters and the way that she writes their stories, I just love everything about it, and I don't know what it is. Like, I wish I knew so that I could find other books that make me feel this way, but right now Alice Oseman just stands on a pedestal all of her own. So anyway, Radio Silence follows some characters in the same universe that is in all of her other work. So it's the Alice Oseman universe. There is a scene in Solitaire that leads to her first novel that leads to something in Radio Silence. There is a cameo from Nick and Charlie in this book. We also follow Charlie's friend Alid, who is one of the main characters, and our main narrator is Francis. We also follow another side character, Daniel, and Karis, and a bunch of other wonderful characters, and this was just such a wonderful book because it showed and explained YouTube culture and social media culture in a really wonderful way. It's about our main character, Frances, who is a very passionate student, and really her whole life is surrounding the fact that she is a great student and she has incredible work ethic, and that she's trying to go to Cambridge and to get into Cambridge and pass all of her A-levels and everything. And it's also about how she is a super fan of this YouTube podcast called Universe City, and she loves Universe City. It is quite popular on YouTube but not super popular, and she makes fan art for it. And I really related a lot to her because I was also very focused on my academics. I was always that kind of student, but I was also an art student. I went to school for illustration, so the concept of having both of those types of personalities in one person really was wonderful to read because I could relate to that, as well as the YouTube side of this. There's a lot about YouTube growth and the way that people perceive the people that create content on the internet, and it was just such a wonderful way to express that kind of experience, to show that kind of experience. And it's also about how the things that society and school and academia expect of you might not be the best thing for you, and to honor your creative path and what you truly love to do and not what you think you should do. It's just such a wonderful book, and I could talk about it for ages, but I highly recommend you pick it up if you haven't, or any Alice Oseman books. She's just an incredible writer, and I love literally everything that she does. Now I have I Was Born for This and Loveless, which are my next two Alice Oseman books, and they are on my shelves ready for me to read. They just got here about a week ago from Book Depository because I ordered the UK editions because I love these so much. But anyway, that is Radio Silence, and I can't wait to read more Alice Oseman. And then the next book that I read is from another one of my favorite authors, and this is from my favorite middle grade author, or one of my favorite middle grade authors, and that's Kate DiCamillo's Flora and Ulysses, The Illuminated Adventures. And this is illustrated by K.G. Campbell. This won the John Newbery Award, and it is a wonderful part graphic novel, part regular novel book about Flora and this squirrel Ulysses that gets sucked up into a vacuum, and then he survives being sucked up into the vacuum and becomes a superhero who writes poetry. And it is such a lovely concept, such a wonderful book. I unfortunately didn't love it as much as I was expecting to. Every time I read a Kate DiCamillo book, I think it's one of the greatest works of literature, and I love all of her books so much, and I think all of them are fantastic and phenomenal and perfect. And there was something about this book that I just didn't connect to, and I just didn't feel that way about, and I have no idea why, and it frustrates me because I love Kate DiCamillo with every part of my literary soul, and I want to know why I didn't feel the same way that I usually feel about her books about this book. So all in all, I really enjoyed this book. I just didn't love it as much as I usually love her other books. It just didn't have that same feeling, and I have no idea why. So kind of frustrated by that, but I did really enjoy it, so that's great. Then the next book that I read is The Reader by Bernhard Schlink. I don't know why I didn't read the book first, but I remember I watched the movie first, and I really, really enjoyed it. It's a stunning book. It's heartbreaking in so many ways. I will read you guys the back because I feel like I don't know how to explain this story without spoiling it, so let's see how they do it. Hailed for its coiled eroticism and the moral claims it makes upon the reader, this mesmerizing novel is a story of love and secrets, horror and compassion unfolding against the haunted landscape of post-war Germany. When he falls ill on his way home from school, 15-year-old Michael Berg is rescued by Hannah, a woman twice his age. In time, she becomes his lover. She enthralls him with her passion, but puzzles him with her odd silences. Then she inexplicably disappears. And then it keeps going on, but I don't want to say anything else. But we kind of have these separate segments of when Michael is younger and then when Michael is older with Hannah originally, and then with her in a different way. And it's about their relationship and the difficulty that comes with their relationship and the complexity, and why it's called The Reader is because a part of their relationship is Michael always reads to Hannah, and it becomes such a wonderful, beautiful part of their relationship. But it's just such a heartbreaking book. I love historical fiction so much. It's one of my favorite genres, and very, very happy to have read it. Then the next book that I read is The Pearl by John Steinbeck. I recently hauled this book in my most recent book haul, and I have been wanting to read more John Steinbeck because I did a John Steinbeck author portrait recently for my Etsy shop, and I loved The Pearl. It had a very fable-like feel to it, and it was written kind of like a fable or a fairy tale, and on the back it says, "With the pearl he hoped to buy peace and happiness for himself, his wife, and their little son. Instead he found that peace and happiness are not to be purchased. They are themselves pearls beyond price. The Pearl is a book to be read many times and cherished forever," and I completely agree, and I think it is such a wonderful way and such a heartbreaking way to show that peace and happiness, of course, can't be purchased. Obviously, we have the very common phrase, money can't buy happiness. And of course, I think that that's what John Steinbeck is really trying to say with this story and this classic tale. So I loved it. I love that kind of story, and I thought it was beautifully written, and I can't wait to read more John Steinbeck in the future. I'm hoping to read East of Eden at some point this summer, so we'll see if that happens, but I really enjoyed this one. Then the next book that I read is, I think, my favorite book of the year so far. I can't stop thinking about it. I had the biggest book hangover after finishing it, and I'm still kind of in the book hangover. Like, I haven't really been able to figure out what I should read next, because I can't stop thinking about this book. I think it's one of the best books I've ever read in my whole life, and I've read so many books. And that book is Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro. I have no words. To explain how much I love this book and this story, and I think it's brilliant. I think it's beautiful. I think it's heartbreaking. I think this is the saddest book I've ever read, the most devastating book I've ever read, the most heartbreaking, heartfelt. I sobbed. I did not cry while reading this book. This book did not make me cry. It made me hysterically sob, and I think that's one of my favorite things to happen when I read, and I love sad books. I love heartbreaking books, so if you have any recommendations, especially like Never Let Me Go, if you have read Never Let Me Go, and you have other books to recommend like this, because after finishing it, I immediately Googled and YouTubed books like Never Let Me Go. And I know that The Remains of the Day is another book that I have on my shelves by Kazuo Ishiguro, and I can't wait to read that one as well. I know he has so many incredible books. I have read The Buried Giant by him, which was my first Ishiguro, and I didn't love it, but maybe now, having loved Never Let Me Go, I will appreciate it a bit more on a reread. But anyway, just recommend me books that are like Never Let Me Go, please, if you can. If not, that's totally fine, but I went into this book knowing nothing, and I think that is the way to go. All I knew was that everyone said it was heartbreaking, and that could not be more true. That is honestly an understatement. And then after finishing it, I watched the movie adaptation with Carey Mulligan and Keira Knightley and Andrew Garfield, who I have such a crush on now, after watching him in Tick, Tick, Boom and Never Let Me Go, and now I'm in the middle of watching The Amazing Spider-Man with obviously him as Spider-Man. I have a huge crush on Andrew Garfield now, and he plays Tommy, who is one of the main characters in this book. I was talking about this book to someone, and I immediately started crying because just the thought of what happens in this book and trying to talk about it just made me emotional after having read the book. It made me cry after, like, a day after reading it, or a few days after reading it, and I don't know how else to express how much this book means to me, and just read it. Please just read it if you haven't, and after you read it, watch the movie, because although they changed quite a few things about the movie, I think it was a really close adaptation, and they captured the essence of the setting so well, and the emotion, and the acting. Andrew Garfield just did an incredible job. So did Carey Mulligan, so did Keira Knightley, so did all of them. Another character that is in the movie is Domhnall Gleeson, who plays Levin in Anna Karenina with Keira Knightley. I love Domhnall Gleeson, so to see him in Never Let Me Go was so wonderful, although his part is a bit smaller. I don't want to say too much, but the significance of the title and how Ishiguro weaves the title and what Never Let Me Go is, that's what that saying is and what it means and what it symbolizes. I could cry. I could cry just thinking about it. It is just the best book, one of the best books. Honestly, the most heartbreaking book I've ever read. The book that made me cry the most. And I can't stop thinking about it. Like, every single day from finishing this book, I have thought about Never Let Me Go. Like, I don't think there is a day that I have not thought about it, at least for 5 seconds. And I just want to, the second I finished it, I just wanted to reread it. And there's a way that Ishiguro takes these really heartbreaking scenes and he simplifies them so much. There's this one scene where one of the characters is saying something incredibly devastating, and he ends it by, "It's a shame." That's what he says, it's a shame. And it's such a simplified way to express like this devastating thing, and just him, I guess, taking that and simplifying it down and making it feel so small with just saying it's a shame makes it even more groundbreaking than making it this big, huge moment. And I loved it. The writing is exquisite. Everything about this book is perfect. I just love it so much. And I could talk about it forever. But anyway, please read it. Favorite book of the year so far. I just want to talk to people about Never Let Me Go. So again, recommend me books like Never Let Me Go if you can. Let me know what other Ishiguro books I should read. And do you love this book as well? Please talk to me about it, because I am just forever heartbroken and I can't wait until I reread it again. I don't want to stop talking about it, but I think that's enough. And then the last book that I read in May was an audiobook read, and that was a reread of Nick and Charlie by Alice Oseman. So after being devastated by Never Let Me Go, I needed a sweet, comforting book that I could just listen to and be happy. And I saw on Instagram that everybody was taking, not everybody, but a lot of people were taking the audio of the audiobook version of Nick and Charlie and putting it over Instagram Reels and TikToks. I don't have TikTok, but I always see TikToks on Instagram. And they were putting in this scene where Charlie is talking about dating Nick Nelson, and he's like, "I have been dating Nick Nelson since I was 14. He likes rugby and Formula One." And then it keeps going on and on. And anyway, I loved the voice of the narrator that I really wanted to listen to the audiobook. So that's what I did. I have physically read this, I think in 2020, when I first read Heartstopper. This is a solitaire novella, and then there is also This Winter that I have read and loved. That's also a solitaire novella following Nick and Charlie and Tori Spring as well, the characters of Solitaire and Heartstopper. But this was so wonderful, and it follows Nick and Charlie a little bit later. They're just, I think, two of the most comforting characters that I have had the pleasure to read about. It does have illustrations in it. Aw, look at how cute they are. So cute. I just love them so much. Anyway, yeah, so it does have illustrations and little dividing pages. Like this one has a bunch of peaches all over it. There's one with a bunch of rainbows. There we go, so cute. So anyway, Nick and Charlie, it restored my happiness after being devastated by Never Let Me Go. I have not read a single book because I just don't know what to read, because I just can't stop thinking about Never Let Me Go. So anyway, those are all of the books that I read in May. An incredible reading month because I really loved all of them. And I read my favorite book of the year so far, which is Never Let Me Go. So please, 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 if you haven't read Never Let Me Go, just read it. Just read it. Like, if you get one thing out of this video, it's to read Never Let Me Go. But anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have enjoyed. I'd love to know what books you read in May and what you're currently reading, and if you have read any of these books and what you think of them. Thank you so much for being so wonderful and lovely. I hope you're having a fantastic day reading some amazing books, and I will see you soon in another video. Happy reading!